Sometimes some really interesting conversations happen after the podcast is over. That's why we keep the cameras rolling for after the show. Here's more from our amazing guest, the CEO of the City Club of Chicago, Dan Gibbons. And one thing I wanted to dig into a little more that we didn't get into the podcast was mentorship, because I know it's really important to you and it's, framed your life. So can you describe who was your greatest mentor?
It's tough to say greatest mentor. I've had so many.
You've had so many, yes.
Great people in my life that have been mentors. Obviously my parents, and I've had the ability to engage with a lot of amazing people. And obviously I mentioned Mayor Daley is one of those. But there's a man you may know or may have heard of. His name is Andy McKenna. He died just a couple years ago, but he was a mentor to me for a long time. And just the fact that I could ever consider him a mentor is pretty amazing, because he was the mentor to so many incredible people.
How did he become yours? How did you meet him?
Andy was I called him the chairman of Chicago. He was at one point the chairman for most of his career, or most of the time I knew him. He was the chairman of McDonald's, the chairman of the board for McDonald's. He has his own company, but he was, over the years he was the chairman of the White Sox. He was chairman of the Cubs, involved in a lot of sports franchises, the Bears. He has chaired probably every civic institution. You name it. And he was really, really great at connecting people, understanding, what people were good at and pushing them and helping get them into the right roles. I feel like he saw that as sort of his calling, in addition to all the business and all the other things he was doing. So yeah.
It's like a superpower to see the strengths of people and where they would.
But then to have the connections to actually make something of it. It's one thing to understand. So that's why I think it's just being a mentor or finding your right mentor. That is so important, because you got to fill in things that you may not have. Maybe you have the knowledge or you have the passion, but you don't have the network or the understanding of how to use that. And you find a mentor who can either draw that out of you or lend their own network and their own, their resources to your journey. He certainly did for me, and it made a lot of difference.
What's some of the best advice he ever gave you? Is there anything that you remember that was like, wow, that was a light bulb?
There were so many. Whenever I would make a real life decision, I'd go see him, and you had to go see him. You had to go see him, and you had to put a tie on, and you didn't have to, but I did.
Yes.
Because he deserved that respect. And he was old school, and so I would show up at his office. I'd call first, and to say, does he have a few minutes? And usually it was pretty quickly that I'd be able to get up there and sit down with him.
It's just surprising right there that busy of a human, just everything that you rattled off that he was doing, that he had time like that.
And by the way, he has 8 children, 20 some grandchildren. I mean, just an amazing man, and he never seemed flustered or.
What's the trick?
I learned so much from that. I learned so much from him. I don't know how he did all that, but
there's got to be an underlying. You should have asked him that. I'm sad he's not with us anymore.
Yeah, I am too. He really is amazing. But every time I would go and have one of those visits, I'd go in thinking, okay, he's going to tell me do this or don't do that, or meet this person or don't meet that person, or. Go get your MBA, or no, you don't need to. But it wasn't that. I went thinking that's what I was going to walk out of there with. But he would just make me think, about bigger picture goals and strengths and weaknesses. And so, yeah, I got a lot of.
Was it his? I think it his questioning strategy that would make you think? What would make his questions?
And you're right. It was why is he asking that question? It's not, he doesn't really care about the answer to that. He's just, so you're right. I think he would ask questions, and then I usually wouldn't come to the conclusion till days later. I'm like, there we go. That's what made sense. He said there were a couple things that I'll just never forget, that I walked away from there. One is, and it's funny because it became this it actually is manifested in this podcast that we're doing for City Club called Be in the Room. It was such a simple lesson of show up, get in the room, just there's so much to just being there and being in person. And whether it's showing up as a mentor or showing up for an event that you were invited to, or showing up, to your, something maybe you don't have to show up for, but you're going to make it an extra effort. Show up, get in the room, be there. That's kind of the first step. And that alone.
I love that. And it sounds so simple, but it is profound of be in the room, picking what rooms you want to be in, but also getting over the fear of networking, which is something
Sure.
that I think, I don't know if he ever gave you any advice or if you have any advice or your thoughts on that, but sometimes the stop to be in the room is just a fear of, I don't know anybody in the room. I don't want to go in that room.
And that's funny because that's something that I, with City Club have tried to help, I don't know, dispel that myth or bring that fear down a bit. And we're actually doing that because I was reading a book, it's called The Art of Gathering. And it talks about actually like walking over that threshold, I guess, creating a space where people are comfortable. And that's what I'm trying to do with City Club, with everything I do. And I host parties and do things at home and at restaurant where I love bringing people together.
Yeah.
And making them comfortable. And when they're comfortable and their guards are down and they want to be there,
the
engaged,
magic happens.
and then it gets deeper. And so when you cross that
so what did you learn from the book? Like, is there any takeaways that you were like, oh, that was something I hadn't thought of? Like,
oh yeah,
Kevin Boehm has something on this. So the one of the co-founders of the Boca restaurants, we had him on too, amazing guy, and he talks a lot about that. I mean, that restaurants, of course, that's the gathering, but music for sure. Lighting. And like being able to converse or not converse, but yeah, so anything.
It's a lot of mental, consistency. When you get there, you're going to be greeted openly. You're going to be like I talked earlier about that sort of level playing field. You can walk up to anybody at any City Club event. It doesn't matter if you're an elected official with a security detail or a student that is wearing his hat backwards. That didn't happen at City Club of past.
I love that.
And now it's actually, I'll tell you a real quick story. We had talked about that 5-year plan that Bob Clark had mentioned. And towards the end of the 5-year plan, I was talking about maybe having heads of state or real significant people coming to City Club. Well, within 6 or 7 months, we had our first head of state of me kind of taking over. So here's the 5-year plan has been, moved along in some ways so quickly. We had the prime minister of the Bahamas, and he's amazing. And he's one of the most prolific speakers on climate change that you'll ever hear. And just a great man. Brave Davis is his name. And so first time we've had a head of state actively at City Club of Chicago. And at the table, I was very intentional about who we put at that table. And one of those folks was actually someone I didn't know too well, and I rolled the dice, and it was it was an activist. And he came in a little bit late, by the way, which I wasn't crazy about, but with a hat on, there are a lot of suits and ties. Not that you needed to, but that when he came in and sat down at the head table, right near the ambassador and the prime minister, that helped set the tone that I wanted to set. That we are involving, encouraging this like next generation of leaders. That's almost a bit, and we were talking about mentorship. That's almost my way of making my little mark here.
Right.
Is that this is gonna be inclusive. This is going to be, it's gonna stop and make people think why, who, and why because that activist was invited to be at that table, he's usually outside protesting something.
Interesting.
He's invited to be at the table, and he's been talking about it ever since. And I think that it has brought more conversations to the forefront and able to do that in sort of a civil manner.
That's awesome. Do you feel like with this next generation that you need more mentors within City Club?
Oh,
Or does it,
yes. I mean,
would it be
everyone
us?
can,
Yeah.
everyone benefits
Or
from.
does it happen organically just by sitting at the table like you described?
With getting students involved, that really has helped. I wish I knew in high school how to walk into a room. I mean, how to grab a fork, how to shake somebody in the hand and look them in the eye and read their name tag on the right side, and some of those things change nowadays, but
No,
those are very standard, important things.
I agree with you. And even when you said your mentor was old school and you went with a tie, it's like knowing when and where that is appropriate. And it's not taught in schools. And a lot of kids don't have both parents and might not get that kind of lesson from like their father of how you.
I took it for granted. I learned a lot of those things.
Yeah, so I think that's
but
true.
It gives it's a tool. It's a very important tool for people to have, to be able to walk into a room confidently, and be yourself, and have something to offer. And at City Club, when we bring all these people together, everyone has something to offer, and making certain that they understand that walking in, it helps bring down those barriers and get right to the meat, get right to the good stuff, the conversations and the connections, and maybe some mentorship. Maybe you sit down next to somebody who wants to support your business, or who is interested in what college you're going to go to next if you're a student, or who.
Internships, your story of internships, those can happen all over the place, and they are so important. Yeah. Okay. We're going to end on some rapid fire because this will be kind of fun. The title is Best of Chicago. So some of your opinions,
you're
which
gonna get me in trouble.
we're
Okay.
going to so try not to get.
Okay.
It'll be recommendations.
All right. How about that?
What's one of your favorite neighborhoods?
Well, South Loop. I mean, I live in the South Loop. I think there's so much potential in the South Loop still.
I agree.
There's so much that can be done there. Motor Row. I love Bronzeville and the history, the music, and the in the history of what went on in Chicago can all be seen still and felt in the families in Bronzeville, and sort of that connection of the South Loop in Bronzeville is sort of, to me, it's like that last bridge that hasn't been built yet. Like, the downtown to the south side.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I love you were saying, and something I was listening to, just how great it is as a walkable city. We have the best.
Oh my gosh.
We have the best walkable
I mean, where
city.
else can you go from Millennium Park and the Art Institute, and cross over
and just
amazing
this beautiful Riverwalk right here. I love the Riverwalk.
And then walk all the way down Michigan Avenue to a beach.
Yeah. That's a fun day to take the Riverwalk
Where
all
else
the
can
way.
you do
And
that?
then you can stop at a million pubs and bars, and at the end you can play bags. It's very fun.
That's great.
Okay, so a restaurant that you'd recommend, or something you're in the mood for today, maybe we say, because we don't want to.
Okay, so and not getting
in trouble because we have so many. Well, it's a really hard question.
Yeah, so Gio's is a rare find at 27th and Low, and they have an amazing Italian food, and it's like a lunch spot. It's like a deli.
Like, write that down. We're always looking for where to go.
Yeah, and it's good lunch stuff. But then it's a BYOB. So when my dad had the liquor store, we'd bring our own wine to dinners, and that was the place we'd do it. And that I love that place. Yeah, I'm Italian. Il Culicino, the Firehouse. It's amazing steakhouse. Of course, Chicago Cut right here. I mean, I stick with my favorites.
Talk about a little bit about your connection with firefighters.
Yeah, my family. So my uncle, when I was interning for Mayor Daley, or for the city and eventually Mayor Daley, my uncle had been named the commissioner of the Chicago Fire Department. So he had served 30 some years, his way up through the department. And so had his brother PJ and brother-in-law and his father, my grandpa James, and his father, great-grandfather, all in the fire department.
Wow. That's a long lineage of firefighters.
It is. It's a neat history. And it's actually my great-grandfather died as a result of the Great Stockyards Fire in 1934. And he didn't initially receive the line of duty death because he died a few days afterwards because they were at the fire for so long, he drank water from the hydrant and got dysentery.
Oh, man.
And eventually died from that. And just a few years ago, we were able to convince city council to say, just to make it official, that he was killed in the line of duty because of the stockyards fire, because they were there for days and days on end, and he died as a result of that.
I wouldn't
and
imagine he was the only
put up.
one that died from that.
Oh no, there were four. There were four that died specifically from dysentery following, and I think we were able to get their badges added to the wall, just to memorialize.
That's great.
That.
I love that.
But a great family history in the fire department, and now I've turned that. I helped start the Chicago Fire Department Foundation, so need to kind of be able to keep that going a little bit.
That's awesome.
And I've got a cousin's husband that's on the.
That foundation takes care of firefighters, or
it helps get them the equipment, the training, and then just a little extra if something goes wrong.
Gotcha.
And it's been a great foundation, very well received.
And I was telling you just quickly on this, we're on fire moment I love our history at Ed Long when we had our 100-year party, which was in 2014, so many years ago now. But I had to do a bunch of research and then found out that our founders, the Bremner Biscuit family is part of our founders, and the mayor of Chicago called during the Chicago fire and asked the Bremner Biscuit. They were the only factory, I guess, that made it through the fire. And he's like, you got to feed our people are starving. So there's a fire connection.
There's always,
yes.
It's Chicago.
Yes. Well, you kind of answered it, but sports team.
I grew up with the Bulls, though, also, like in the thick of that. I remember going to all those games and going to all the celebrations when they won again and again and again.
So Michael Jordan era.
Just to grow up as a kid in that. I mean,
wow.
Banging pots and pans together when they'd win and out on the porch.
He was just amazing.
Yeah.
Bears fan. I grew up going to Bears games during that Peyton 85. I was in high school. I think I was like a junior or something like that. But yeah, that never to be beat. Favorite pizza?
Oh, this will really, Connie's is... Connie's, there's so many. Paisano's is such a great crust. Connie's is so classic.
Malnati's a lot. Yeah. That's maybe more suburban. I don't know if that's
so
Chicago, but
it's a very personal podcast, very personal question.
Right. I know it is a personal question. All right. Your favorite monument?
I think the I Will statue that is in Jackson Park now, that was at the World's Fair. It's just such a monument to Chicago's resilience. Think about how often Chicago has had to rebuild itself, one way or another, mostly physically and but also in different ways. But think about after the fire in 1871, we could have moved to anywhere else. Chicago completely rebuilt itself. 1930s. I mean, you could go on and on. 1919. And a lot of it was race related. Also, the Great Depression and after Prohibition and in the 60s and 70s and all the. And this is all so cyclical, and Chicago's so great at reinventing itself. And that I Will statue is, to me, kind of it just puts that all together.
And we survive winters and polar vortexes.
Yes, again and again and again. We'll just live as many times as the Bulls won.
Yes.
But we're kind of...
And we survive really painful sports teams for decades.
Way too long.
Yeah. But we still love them.
We do. And that's, Chicago, think about such a sports town. There's so much resiliency and there's so much, I think we're right in the middle of another rebuild now.
I think so too.
And that statue still stands and we're going to do it again. These things are cyclical, but the city is so strong and so amazing that it's always going to be coming back in a better way than it was. All
right. Last one, your favorite festival.
First one that comes to mind is Taylor's, the Taylor Street.
Yes.
Italian, festival.
But you might say St. Patrick's Day something.
Well, those are parades.
That's true. That's not really a festival.
And that, of course, is St. Patrick's Day and the Southside Irish Parade and the Downtown Parade. Of course, the music festivals. Blues Fest.
Yeah.
We've got the best music and best
art
music history
festivals
in the city.
There's some amazing.
You pull that all together, and it's just fun. You have beer walking down the street and see some great people.
Best city to people watch. Very
Sometimes,
fun.
yeah.
All right, Dan. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you for all of the time you spent with us today. And
Thanks. It's been a lot of fun.
if you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you haven't watched the full episode with Dan, be sure to check it out. The link is in the description below.